Wolves have managed to secure the signing of Marc Pubill from Almeria for £13 million. This is an absolutely outstanding deal, so I'm going to speak a little bit about what I think he could bring to the Molineux and why I think he is the perfect replacement for Nelson Semedo. So let's get straight into this one. Now, first and foremost, I'm a massive fan of Marc Pubill. I think he's a top talent. Now, this is a graph from the La Liga season, from the 23-24 season, the season that Almeria were relegated to the second division. Now, Pubill sort of made a name for himself in this season. He managed 1,883 minutes. And as a 20-year-old, it was a really tough ask for a right-back to come in and play in a very relegation-threatened side and a team that ultimately did go down. Now, Pubill had a really promising season, though, in La Liga. And as you can see here, some of the statistics are absolutely outrageous. For a fullback, might I add. So as you can see here, 1.6 successful dribbles per 90, which even for a winger, that's still, relatively decent for a very young player. Now, I think that's absolutely brilliant. But key passes, he's averaged 1 per 90 there. 1.9 open play shots created for others as well. 91.7 progressive carry distance on average, which is absolutely ludicrous. Now, when he's sort of bringing the ball forward that much as a 20-year-old, there's that element of confidence and that comfortability on the ball. And he's not one of these Spanish players that sort of we associate with having, excellent technical ability, but not much of an athlete. They're not much they don't have much athleticism to their game. I mean, Pablo Sarabia is a prime example of one of those players that we've seen at Wolves, absolutely technically unbelievable. But in terms of an athlete, in terms of a runner, in terms of a sort of physical specimen, he just isn't that, and that wasn't his sort of main prerogatives and the best things sort of about his game, really. Now, as you can see here as well, 0.19 scoring contributions as a right back, by the way. Incredible. It's just absolutely brilliant. And I think he had a really promising season the season before last, but he's been even better in the 24-25 season in the second division of Spanish football. Now, there's a lot to like about Pubill, there really is, as I've briefly mentioned. One of the other things that I think really stands out for me is the fact that he's 6'3". Now, you don't see so many sort of technically secure players in those fullback positions that are that height. You don't see many fullback players that are that height in general. But, at 22 years old, 6'3", he's so strong in duels. He's so strong in the air as well. And generally, there's just not really much you can say that you wouldn't like about Marc Pubill. I think Wolves fans have every right to be extremely excited about this one. Let me know in the comments, Wolves fans, what you think about Pubill as well. And hopefully you enjoy this video and go on to enjoy this video. So, his consistency last season was absolutely ridiculous. He played 40 games for Almeria last season in a side that were pushing for promotion. They ultimately finished 6th on 69 points, I believe. But they were absolutely flying at points last season, and he was key to that. 1 goal, 5 assists across those all competitions as well. And just generally an absolutely brilliant footballer to watch at the time. And I know that Almeria fans will be absolutely gutted at him leaving. But £13 million or 15 million euros for them is absolutely massive for a side that are in the second division of Spanish football. It's absolutely massive for them. They can reinvest that and hopefully go on to the heights of being a La Liga team once again. But I do think from a Wolves perspective, it's a massive deal. Now, we did briefly speak about in a previous video about the right-back conundrum. I was very much of the stance that Keanu Hervey should stay. And if Keanu Hervey does stay, that is an absolutely outstanding backup to have, or someone that you could rotate with Marc Pubill. I do think Pedro Lima does need a loan, and I don't think Matt Doherty is really that option anymore. I think his legs have sort of gone in a way to play that wing-back role the most effectively. So I do think bringing him in and bringing Pubill in is just a massive sort of, no-brainer, really. And I do think it's a really exciting signing. So let's speak a little bit more about Pubill as a player, because I am really excited by this deal, as I've said numerous times. Now, here is a statistic that I think is absolutely ludicrous. Now, this is based off his 23-24 season, again, when they were in La Liga. Obviously, all of these players are based off the top 5 leagues again. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous when you look at it. Now, Ryan Aït-Nouri, as you can see, tops these tables with progressive carries per 90, successful take-ons per 90, and clearances in the defensive third per 90. Now, this is absolutely ludicrous. At 20 years old, he had 2.8 progressive carries per 90. As I said previously, he's so good at, getting in the channels, sort of bombing on and knowing when to bomb on. And, as Wolves fans, I'm sure most of you will sort of be aware that that was one of Semedo's massive strengths. He'd often take the ball and just drive up the pitch, and he'd constantly go with it, give it inside, give and go. Semedo was really good at bringing the ball forward, and obviously Aït-Nouri has been on the opposite side as well. He's been absolutely exceptional at that over the years. But I do think the fact that Pubill, at 20 years old, when these sort of statistics were coming about, being in that company, it's absolutely ludicrous. I mean, Dango Atara, for example, played majority sort of that season as a winger, really, as an out-and-out sort of left mid at times as well. And Bradley Locko, again, very, very advanced forward in League One at that point as well. And there's so many players that, in this list have played so high up the pitch, but they are classed as fullbacks, but they do play so high up the pitch. And Marc Pubill is one of these that I think will be really exciting in Vitor Pereira's back five system. Now, as I briefly touched on, I was massively impressed with Pubill and Hugo Bueno at the European 21 Championships. The fact that Wolves are going to have both of their fullbacks having played in that competition and played on opposite sides to each other, it intrigues me anyway. But as you can see here with the data, this is basically discussing flying fullbacks and their off-the-ball running data. So, as you can see here, Hugo Bueno, for example, ran 27% of his runs were underlaps, and 22% were overlaps, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. Hugo Bueno is one of these players we know that is so good going forward in terms of, getting on the ball, wanting to be on the ball, wanting to make things happen, being all action, and Feyenoord fans will tell you that. But this is where Pubill really excites me as well, because the statistics aren't too dissimilar. Now, obviously, he's massively different with regards to his underlaps, but as I briefly touched on, his overlapping skills are absolutely crucial, and I actually really think that the idea of Fer Lopez playing as that right-sided number 10, cutting on his left foot, and having Pubill go on the outside of him really intrigues me, and that's how I can almost envision it. Now, again, this could also be the case with John Arias. We've seen Arias plays his best football, or most of his football, off the right, and I do think it'd be really interesting to have Pubill overlapping him, but I think he also has that ability to underlap as well, as we've seen in that tournament, but he's in really good company there. As you can see, Sildilia is massively down on that, and he's had an absolutely outstanding season in the Bundesliga. Tino Livramento is below him on there, and Matteo Ruggeri, again, another really top fullback. So he's in really, really good company, and it really is such an exciting signing. I can't sort of express this enough to you Wolves fans. You're going to be absolutely buzzing when you see him come in next season. Now, Pubill is sort of one of these players that's been touted for the last 18 months, really, and he's been a top talent for a long time. As you can see here, he was here we go to Atalanta by Fabrizio Romano last year, and, that would have been a great signing under Gasperini. I had no doubt he would have absolutely sort of flourished for Atalanta, but ultimately that deal fell through, and obviously Gasperini has left for Roma now, so that's a bit of a crazy sort of situation that this deal didn't go through, and very rarely do you see a here we go not go through. Now, Pubill for me is really sort of impressed me in terms of, his decision making to go to Wolves. I do think for his career and sort of to get the best out of him as a footballer, playing in a back five system is absolutely the right move. It can showcase his talent down that right flank a lot more than he could in a back four system, and that may be why he's chosen Wolves over the likes of Tottenham Hotspur and AC Milan, who were in for him. And I think it's an absolutely sort of brilliant decision from him for his career, like I say, because he's one of these players that's going to get to sort of show his ability, but also Wolves fans will, I have no doubt, fall in love with him. And also, if he really wanted to, Wolves fans, you are not going to like this, and I don't really like saying it, but if he wants to go on and use Wolves as a stepping stone to get a bigger career move, he's at the right age to do so, and at the right age to show his sort of talents in the Premier League, get the best out of him for a few years, and then sell him on. Equally, if there is a sell-on clause in this deal, which is reported from Liam Keane and a lot of other journalists saying that there will be a sell-on clause included in the Pubill deal, Wolves have to be very careful with that as well. And hopefully Fosun and everyone involved within the deal hasn't put too much of a sell-on clause on, just in case he does go on to flourish, have a brilliant career, and look to move elsewhere in the future. But let's not speak about that right now, because he is an absolutely top talent, and I'm extremely excited to see him play for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let me know what you think, Wolves fans, because I think it's so exciting. Now, if you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video, comment below, because I'm loving interacting with everyone, and it's so nice to see some lovely comments from you, and also to just have sort of friendly debates with you as well. I'm really enjoying that interaction. And also, please subscribe to the channel, because like I say, I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the start of the 2025-26 Premier League season. It is a massive mountain to climb, but I'm sure we can do it, and with all your support, I don't see why not. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.